And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. And a very warm welcome to all the John Cobelt listeners who are now with us. Mr. Randy Wang's in the state of New Mexico.
John, in our latest edition of They're Stealing What Now? Thieves repeatedly keep going to a Macy's in Concord to steal perfume.
To steal perfume?
They're stealing scents.
Well, I guess at least they're stealing a good one. There are some real foul odors out there in the world. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we know that everyone in Los Angeles is very concerned about their figure. After all, we are the town that is home to Hollywood. However, if we do elect a socialist candidate to be mayor of Los Angeles, Hollywood might have bread lines in a town where nobody eats carbs.
Nithya Raman spent the weekend going on a whole bunch of different interviews talking about her campaign for mayor and being asked why she wants to go up against Karen Bass, and her not trying to directly criticize Karen Bass in what is the strangest launch to a campaign I've ever seen.
If you're going to run as a socialist insurgent, don't you have to just go for a bite right at the apple?
Apparently, she's trying to play it real nice, at least to start here. Let's listen to what Nithya had to say to CBS LA. Ah, crap, that rhymed. I should be mayor.
Well, it was a shock for LA politics in the mayoral race. City Council member Nithya Raman is running against LA Mayor Karen Bass as she seeks re-election.
Considered an ally of Bass, Councilmember Raman made the unexpected announcement just hours before the filing deadline, and she's joining us now to discuss her campaign and what prompted her to make this decision. It was literally hours before the deadline.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for being here this morning. Mayor Bass supported you in your 2024 City Council re-election bid. So what do you have to say to Bass supporters now that you're sitting in this seat?
Yeah, I was wrong.
I saw an opportunity and I took it.
Yeah, I think this role for me is really about serving the people of Los Angeles. And I supported Mayor Bass in her first election as well. I have a relationship of trust with her. But right now,
I don't know if you do anymore.
But right now, I am here in Los Angeles talking about the future of this city. And I feel like what I hear from everyone is that we're moving in the wrong direction.
And you're part of the problem. You are on the city council. And if you don't know the way the government in Los Angeles works, it is a strong city council and a weak mayor. So she's instrumental in the failures of the city, but wants a promotion.
What's weird to me is, didn't we get a call last week from a listener who thought that this is some sort of kabuki theater that's going on where she was conspiring with other people to try to, I guess, take Karen, or do a solid for Karen Bass, rather, to prevent Spencer Pratt from becoming mayor? When you listen to this woman, she has not thought this through. I think she's in the shower one morning and she thinks, boy, Karen Bass is really unpopular and I have an opportunity to be mayor. Hell, why not?
And as we're looking ahead at this mayoral race, I feel like it's really important to have a conversation about what's wrong and how we can fix it and how we can dream big for Los Angeles again.
That's not the most generic thing I've ever heard.
This isn't going to work until she comes out with a platform that is more popular than the platform that Karen Bass is running on, which is running the city into the ground.
You're obviously going to have a lot of people who ask you, why are you not supporting Bass and instead running yourself? What do you think of her tenure so far as our mayor?
I feel like over the last couple of years, a lot of the things that I care about the most, housing affordability, has gotten worse.
Well, the guy in the last hour was happy that he was able to move from a studio to a one-bedroom for the same amount.
rather than better, and we're actually reducing the number of housing units that we're building on homelessness, on fire and emergency response.
Well, wait, part of the reason that we're reducing the amount of units that we're building is because of a measure that you, Nithya, and Karen Bass championed called Measure ULA, the mansion tax that turned out to make it impossible for developers to make their money back on building multifamily housing.
Have you seen how Karen Bass is attacking Nithya Raman?
Oh, how is that going?
I saw over the weekend, it was an ally of Bass who was asked, well, aren't you worried that LA is going to be like New York City and they're going to elect a socialist over the incumbent Democratic mayor? And the answer was no, because in New York City, Eric Adams played footsie with the Trump administration, and Karen Bass has hated Trump the whole way through, and that's never going to change. So she hates Trump sufficiently enough to where it doesn't matter if she does a bad job. If you hate Trump, you have no reason to leave her.
You know, I feel like over the last couple of years, a lot of the things that I care about the most, housing affordability, has gotten worse rather than better. And we're actually reducing the number of housing units that we're building on homelessness, on fire and emergency response. I feel like we're moving with less accountability and less urgency than we need to on issues, just essential services, street lights, street repair, street repaving. We are just not keeping the lights on, and we're not keeping our streets paved.
Okay, but you're the worst offender. Every time we hear someone on the news from someone who lives in your district, they say you ignore them and you never fix the problem, and you make excuses for the people who are doing things like stealing copper wire or homeless encampments that are near schools.
I think you remember that at a town hall, Nithya Raman was confronted about all the rampant catalytic converter theft that was going on in her district. And she said at that town hall, well, it's Toyota's fault for making them so easy to steal from a Prius.
All of the outrageous statements that go viral throughout the country coming from that council come from the DSA block, and she's one of them.
She's the OG. She's the first one. Nobody even knew what the DSA LA was until she knocked out David Rue in 2020.
And I think the thing that's overwhelming Los Angeles is the presence of ICE on our streets. Is our city doing enough to keep Angelenos safe? I feel like for so many Angelenos, the answer to all of these things is that the city is not doing enough. And I think we could be doing more if we were making better decisions, if we were focusing on this moment with urgency and with a focus on the people and serving the people of Los Angeles.
So you think Bass...
Boy, everything coming out of her mouth is so generic, devoid of any kind of real platform. I think you're right. She had not thought this through one bit.
No, because now she's running like all these Democrats who are running for governor, which is, I have no platform. I hate Trump. If you hate Trump, vote for me.
So you think Bass has not done a good job in those areas?
I think that we could be doing so much better.
Well, that's you've called it a breaking point for the city. Are these all the reasons that you said that, or are there more?
No, I think these are the biggest ones that really come across into my office every single day. And I think that Angelenos are talking about as they're moving and living in this incredible city.
So you've made tackling the homeless crisis really kind of a pinnacle of your campaign.
She is the head of the Housing and Homelessness Committee, and she's very proud of her work that have led to a almost non-existent reduction in the homeless people that we are seeing on the streets of Los Angeles.
Bass is very limited in terms of her ability to criticize Nithya because Nithya has essentially voted with her most of the time. But if you were a normal person, could you imagine how you could eviscerate this woman's record in television and radio ads?
You're the head of the City Council's Housing and Homelessness Committee. So if you're elected, what would be the steps that you would take to get a handle on this crisis?
You know, I think for me, one of the biggest issues is that we have lacked the adequate shelter and housing to bring people indoors effectively. We've also lacked the kind of system that can ensure that we are out there at every encampment. As soon as someone becomes homeless and is on the streets, we need to be out there meeting them with support and bringing them indoors. What we've done...
We are literally spending more on the bums today than we ever have in the history of the city since we incorporated. And what is her argument? That we're not spending enough? What does she want? Does she want 99% of the budget to go to the bums?
What we've done, and we've done a little bit better over the last few years in terms of reducing homelessness. In my district, we've seen street.
See, she's going to walk this real tight line of, we need me because everything's a mess. But also, we need me because we're actually seeing a little bit of an improvement. Like, what?
It doesn't make sense. And the problem that she's going to have is you need a coherent message. You need a message that you can distill down into just a few words. And this is just garbage. This is word salad and garbage.
What we've done, and we've done a little bit better over the last few years in terms of reducing homelessness. In my district, we've seen street homelessness go down significantly. But a lot of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, who are we citing for that?
What planet is this woman living on?
But a lot of the work that we're doing, if we're not building a system from the top.
Actually, the parts of her district where homelessness has gone down is the mountain range in between the neighborhoods she represents.
With no population.
But a lot of the work that we're doing, if we're not building a system from the top that is accountable to voters, that is spending every dollar with clarity and real results on the ground.
Weren't you one of the people that gave Karen Bass a blank check for the motels?
You're going to have to explain when she lost you in a coherent way, because you have been her chief enabler on that council. I can't think of one major policy difference between Nithya and Karen, which, by the way, shows you that Karen's a socialist too. But can you think of anything of any consequence where they've been on opposite sides?
We will always be putting duct tape on a problem and spending hundreds of millions of dollars doing it instead of actually building a system that can bring people indoors and address the issue at its root.
Well, we had you on a few months ago where you were touting that the numbers are getting better. So what's the disconnect then, and how would you make this even better?
Yeah, why were you just on this show a few months ago talking about how great Karen Bass's homeless plan is?
Good question.
Then, and how would you make this even better?
We really need, at the city of Los Angeles, and I think I talked about this in that interview, we don't have a place right now that is managing the whole system. We don't have a place that is looking at performance and making sure that we are tracking every dollar, tracking every piece of work that we're doing, making sure every shelter bed is full, making sure every unit is full. I had to fight to create that. We still haven't put a single staff member in it. We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars.
By the way, this right here.
Put a single staff member in it.
That is the anchor wondering how much longer this segment is.
I'll tell you, if there's anything that someone who comes from the homeless services world doesn't want, it's an audit. And if you think for 1 second that electing a woman who comes from that world to be mayor is going to result in honest audits being done on homeless spending and everything else, you're crazy.
Single staff member in it. We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year on this issue. If I were in charge of the entire system, that performance oversight accountability system would be in place, and we would not only be managing our own dollars better, we'd also be fighting with the county and demanding mental health resources from them to get help for people on our streets.
So do you feel like you've had to spin things in your current position?
What do you mean by that?
Like coming on a couple months ago and saying the positives of this, did you feel like you had to spin that?
I think that...
Well, she did spin it, obviously.
Oh, yeah, because back then she was the chief supporter of Karen Bass, and she had something to gain if Karen Bass got reelected. Then the fire report came in the LA Times saying that Karen Bass doctored up that report, and she thought, okay, it's time to throw Mother Goose under the bus because a mayor has been born.
What do you mean by that?
Like coming on a couple months ago and saying the positives of this, did you feel like you had to spin that?
I think that I want people to trust the system and trust our ability to do the work, right? They are giving us this money. We have to show results on the street.
And we haven't seen any results, so can we have that money back?
At this point, who is going to abandon Bass? Who supported Bass in the last election, who supports her, I guess, today, is going to abandon her for this woman? Because the thing about socialist candidates that makes them appealing to left-wing voters is they're very pithy. It's, we're going to put the government in charge of the grocery stores. We're going to defund the cops. We're going to spend the money on ambassadors. It's very bullet point centric in terms of how they present themselves. And it is so hard to follow her arguments. It is so hard to follow her programs that I don't know who can get excited about this. I really don't.
And I wanted them to know, look, I know that sometimes things feel like they're in stasis, but we have made minor improvements, and I'm fighting for even more. I'm fighting for this accountability. But at some point, unless that push for accountability and change is coming from the top, we will not get there. And I feel like Angelenos have trusted us over and over again with more taxes and more dollars to address our homelessness crisis.
Yeah, that one's on us.
You know, as I sit here listening to her, at first I thought she was going to be a real threat to Karen Bass. Now I think Karen Bass is able to fight her off. I really do. This is not going to sell, even to the lunatics that vote in that city.
If we don't deliver on systemic results, not just incremental improvements, they will lose that trust and faith in the government. And I can't bear that.
All right, Nithya Raman, thank you so much for being here this morning. We appreciate it, and we'll continue to check in on you as you continue this run.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, a little Shangy at the end.
Uh-oh. Shang, you want to give her an assist?
Here this morning. We appreciate it, and we'll continue to check in on you as you continue this run.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, here is a prediction. This woman is going to get rid of whoever it is that's advising her right now and bring in someone new. Someone who has worked with, I don't know. I don't even know who she has running her campaign now. But she's going to have to copy what Mamdani did in New York because that seemed to resonate with Democratic voters.
Didn't they all go to work for Steyer?
I think they did. Well, she's not going to be able to pay them more than him. But that's the crowd that she needs. Maybe whoever it was that got AOC elected because they distilled it down to very simple campaign promises there. But what she's doing right now is not going to work. And I don't know if she knows that she's floundering already, but she is. And Bass, I predict, is going to get vicious with her. Because if you're Bass and this woman was disloyal to you, you have no reason to hold your punches. This is the last hurrah for Bass. Bass is not going to be president. Bass is not going to be governor. She's an old lady who has one more term left before she's termed out. So why not go balls to the wall if you're her? Wouldn't you? Especially if it's someone who stabbed you in the back. And because she's the one that signs all the contracts with the city, she's going to be able to force everyone to pony up some money. So she's going to have the money that she needs to run for re-election. And if she wants to get nasty with this woman, she can. And my guess is she will. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you're in the Central Valley of California, you can now listen to us on the weekends.
We package up the Fix California Hour in a whole lot of different ways. You'll hear it in Southern California on 790 KABC live every single day in our noon to 3 show, but you'll also hear a replay later in the night. On KSFO, you'll hear a replay of the Fix California Hour early in the morning at like 4 o'clock. And in the Central Valley, we package up a special edition of the Fix California Hour that you can hear every single week on our sister station, KMJ, in the Central Valley. It airs Saturdays at noon. You can hear it live if you happen to be driving through Fresno by going to 580 on the AM dial, 105.9 FM, or you can stream it wherever you are at kmjnow.com and get the KMJ Now app.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
It's happened yet again.
It's Wild Wild West out here.
It's the California Crime Blotter with John
And Randy.
And Randy, the first edition of the blotter involves an employee who fights back.
And this is at a Montclair jewelry store where a woman who was in the middle of getting tased by a guy said enough is enough. Of course, he still got away in the end. For more, here is Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
Caught on camera, a local jewelry store clerk takes a huge risk when an armed robber threatens her. Surveillance video shows the woman fighting back. Fox 11's Haley Winslow spoke to that store clerk about her terrifying ordeal. And Haley joins us now live from Montclair. Haley.
Susan, we were just talking about another jewelry store robbed in last Sunday's newscast. It's becoming a bit like Groundhog Day for these local family-owned jewelry stores.
Oh, I think it's a little more than that. I feel like we've had a jewelry store robbery somewhere in California every week for the past 2 years.
At what point do the jewelry stores become like the 7-Elevens and they just can't find anyone to work there?
And you would think, especially inside of a mall,
Well, usually the family-owned ones, it's your niece or it's your wife that's working there. So that's even tougher.
and you would think, especially inside of a mall, that these employees would be extra safe with the protected security from the surveillance cameras and the security guards. But in this case, it was...
Wait, you're thinking that the mall cops are going to save you?
No. Kevin James is going to do nothing to save that woman from getting tased.
That poor guy. It's all people think about whenever you hear that name.
security guards, but in this case, it was actually the fellow shoppers and the employees who really saved the day. Now the family is hoping somebody recognizes this culprit, still on the loose tonight.
I get scared so much.
A few shards of glass, now all that sparkle inside this empty jewelry case, once filled with some of Montclair's finest engagement rings.
You know, the jewelry stores are going to have to end up becoming like the liquor stores where the really good stuff, you can't even get the bottle of it. You have to grab a piece of paper that has the picture of the bottle on it and take it up to the front.
Well, if there's no wedding rings in California left to sell, then I guess all of us are going to end up having to live in sin.
Just 2 days before Valentine's Day, stolen in this smash and grab, all caught on camera. It was just before closing time at Fast Fix Jewelry inside the Montclair Mall when this man wearing a COVID mask asks employee Aline Ohan.
Yeah, that should be your first sign that something's wrong.
Oh, yeah. Although I will say this. If you're on a flight coming back to California from another blue state, that's about half the plane.
When this man wearing a COVID mask asks employee Aline Ohan to see an item. But he steps out of the store, then quickly returns. So the employee, also the owner's sister, doesn't open it.
She asked him.
She could already tell, okay, something's weird about this guy.
Oh, yeah. This guy who's real concerned about stopping the spread is looking real fishy.
What is going on? Is everything okay? And he replied and says, oh, my wife, I don't want her to see because I want to surprise her.
In the robber's jacket, she sees a gun and a taser. He demands, open the case and don't scream.
And I start say, security, security.
Surveillance shows the bad guy break the glass and stuff the precious jewels into an empty bag. She fights to stop him, all while he's tasing her.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. This is bedlam.
How did you fight him while you were getting constantly tased? Taser.
He started doing my leg a little bit, and then I said, oh my gosh, no, I'm going to do something.
I'm going to guess he cheaped out on the taser.
How did she have the ability to continue to fight with this guy as she's being tased in the act? What, was she on PCP?
He started doing my leg a little bit, and then I said, oh my gosh, no, I'm going to do something.
He tries to run out when a shopper hits him over the head with a food court chair.
I told you, bedlam.
He tries to run out when a shopper hits him over the head with a food court chair.
And then he dropped off.
It's turned into the Royal Rumble.
You know what? He got hit over the head with that chair so hard, the top of his head smelled like ass.
He tries to run out when a shopper hits him over the head with a food court chair.
And then he dropped off the floor. He broke the glass, took it couple, and then he broke his hand and all.
Another shopper calls 911.
This guy's literally a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, no kidding.
Another shopper calls 911. Security and Montclair police rush in to investigate as the suspect gets away, leaving behind shattered glass.
So even after getting smacked in the head with a chair, he still got out of there.
He was intent on stealing those jewels.
Leaving behind shattered glass, a shaken employee, and another family-owned jewelry store facing massive loss during one of their busiest holidays.
I mean, disappointed, terrified, to be honest, at the same time too as well. But then what are you going to do? This is the industry that we're in.
This is just a fact of life. If you want to sell watches, you want to sell rings, you want to sell necklaces, you just know that at some point someone's going to be tasing you to steal all that.
Well, and then this is what, the wife or the daughter?
This is the sister.
The sister, okay. So I guess the only thing they gain out of this is whenever she walks into a room, she doesn't have to flip the switch to turn the lights on.
And now the owner is understandably skeptical of everybody who walks in the door, and he looks at me and he's like, how am I supposed to operate business like this? They want more enforcement and stricter punishments because this is not the store's first burglary, and they're afraid it's going to get worse before it gets better. Reporting live, I'm Haley Winslow. I'll send it back to you, Susan.
Haley, any estimate on how much they lost?
They're actually still counting the items. A lot of those rings in there were $18,000. He wanted to see a necklace that was about $20,000. And, you know, the crazy thing is, Susan, that he parked under the one surveillance camera outside of the mall that didn't have a working camera. So,
oh, that's interesting.
Doesn't that always seem to be the case? Remember when Jeffrey Epstein hung himself in prison? Oh, that's the one camera that wasn't working that day. Uh-huh.
Yeah, there might be more to this story, and there's definitely more to that story.
They don't know if it was an inside job or it was just a coincidence, and that's why they're really asking for the public's help. If you have any idea who this guy might be, of course, please call Montclair Police.
But meantime, quite the story that clerk decided to fight back. Haley, thank you.
Real hero.
There you go, the saga of a jewelry store clerk in Montclair that, while getting tased, tried to fight back from an armed robber.
And this is one of these circumstances where the state of California is fine with letting this happen, but they don't understand what kind of fire they're playing with. Because if you're a jeweler and you know you're uninsured, and if they get away with it, you lose everything that you've worked for, at some point, one of these guys is going to get shot and killed. And then the news is going to do what the news does, which is take the side of the robber. And we're going to see all the high school graduation photos. And we're going to hear about how they were a pillar in the community and they had a rough upbringing, but they were getting their life back together and they had no right to shoot them. You cannot allow this to happen. If you allow this to happen, at some point, someone's not going to put up with this. And then all hell is going to break loose. Stop it before that happens. But for whatever reason, we're unwilling to do that in this state. All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
We couldn't make this stuff up if we tried.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
It's the California Crime Blotter.
And this edition takes us to Concord,
where someone keeps going to a Macy's and stealing perfume.
Well, at least the thieves in this case don't have BO.
For more, here's KTVU, Fox 2, and their crime reporter, Henry Lee.
It's happened yet again.
Right, well, thieves have been repeatedly targeting a Macy's store in the East Bay to steal expensive fragrances. As KTVU crime reporter,
I'm going to guess that's not something that you're selling on the streets of the Mission.
No, I've smelled the people there. They're not buying perfume.
As KTVU crime reporter Henry Lee explains, the loss is estimated to be in the thousands of dollars.
Video obtained by KTVU shows a group of thieves invading the women's fragrance section at a Macy's store. It happened shortly after noon Friday at the store at the Sun Valley Mall in Concord.
Just putting a lot of people's lives at risk because you never know when somebody might have a weapon.
I spoke to a man whose girlfriend witnessed the incident. I'm told the same crew may have hit the same store this past Monday as well as on Saturday, Valentine's Day.
Boy, they really like that perfume.
I guess.
He wonders why more isn't being done to keep this from happening.
There's a reluctance to go after these people and put an end to it.
Macy says it doesn't.
You know what I think happened?
I
think these robbers had an obsession with obsession.
It's pretty good.
And put an end to it.
Macy says it doesn't comment on specific incidents, but noted safety of customers and staff is a priority. On Monday, we did see a security guard inside the Macy's, which was offering a President's Day sale. The store sits inside a busy mall in which jewelry stores have had display cases smashed by robbers.
Boy, it's in every single story.
You just can't get away from it.
It's happened yet again. Workers say they're getting stressed out by the thefts at Macy's. I'm told one burst into tears because they felt so violated over and over.
They're on pins and needles every time they work. Is it going to happen today? And is somebody going to get hurt?
I'm told at least 10,000.
These jobs are supposed to be boring.
Just imagine if one of these people says, I'm fed up. I've had enough of this. I quit. I'm going to work for the jewelry store on the other side of the mall.
And then next week,
it's happened yet again.
Is somebody going to get hurt? Is somebody going to get hurt?
I'm told at least $10,000 in fragrances was stolen on Friday, including high-end perfumes from Dior, Chanel, and Carolina Herrera.
Sets of fragrance.
By the way, that could be about 3 ounces worth.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
Sets of fragrance, and I don't know if you shopped recently, but things are getting more and more pricier. The tariffs and a holiday package, I mean, those were going for almost $200.
He had this message for the thieves.
What kind of message are you sending to your loved one if for Christmas you give them the holiday package of perfume
that's stolen?
Well, even if it wasn't stolen, isn't the message, Merry Christmas, you stinky?
Well, hey, maybe it'll help them on Valentine's Day.
Stop it. I mean, you're putting people's lives at risk, and not to mention their livelihoods.
Concord Police, including its Financial Crimes Unit, are investigating. Anyone with information is asked to give them a call. In Concord, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
So there you go. The Macy's in Concord keeps getting their perfume stolen over and over and over again.
It's happened yet again.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And right now it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
It's happened yet again.
I see. Time for the California Crime Blotter.
And Randy, this edition takes us to the beauty school.
Specifically, a beauty school in Bakersfield where the students park their cars, go learn about dress and hair or cosmetology or whatever else they're doing, and their cars are getting broken into.
That's no fun.
Here's KBAK in Bakersfield.
Well, tonight we have new details on a multiple car break-ins at the parking lot of Lyles College of Beauty in downtown Bakersfield.
Students tell us it's not just the crime leaving them frustrated, but what they say is a lack of action from both the school and police. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Roldan spoke with students and other businesses to see the scale of the issue. Michelle.
Michael, Rochelle, other businesses I spoke with tell me they haven't dealt with car break-ins recently, but the 2 students I spoke with say at least 6 cars have been targeted on their side of the parking lot, stemming from the lack of surveillance and lights.
You know, I just thought of something.
Yeah, go for it.
If when they were trashing these cars and breaking into these cars, they knocked the rearview mirror off, what they could do at the beauty school is just take that super extreme hold gel and just put it right back on the car.
It's just frustrating to come here and then have my stuff stolen out of my vehicle, if that makes sense. And
that makes sense. I wouldn't like that either.
Nope.
And all they have to say is like, oh, I can't do anything about that for you.
Diaper bags, social security cards, and beauty school supplies costing up to $3,000.
Okay, first off, why is your social security card in your car?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
$1,000 are among the items taken in 6 car break-ins just within the last month. Ali and Nikki, students at Lyle's College of Beauty, tell me the break-ins happening in the parking lot.
What a name for a beauty school. Lyle's College of Beauty. Could you imagine hanging up a diploma in a beauty salon? Where'd you go to school? Morty's College of Beauty.
The last month. Ali and Nikki, students at Lyle's College of Beauty, tell me the break-ins happening in the parking lot behind the school has left them feeling unsafe.
Lighting isn't too well over there, and when you're out here at night, it gets really dark. And we always have passerbyers, so it's not, we know, the safest area. One girl, she saw him jiggling on the door handle for the doors, and she said that she felt scared because she was outside, like almost threatened.
When they brought up their
So they just see the people openly like, yep, this one, maybe this one, maybe this one. Which car is it going to be tonight?
What kind of cars could be in the parking lot of a beauty school? Because you're probably talking about young people. You're probably talking about people who don't have a profession yet because they're trying to get their credentials so they can establish themselves in a new profession. You're really kicking people when they're down, when they have nothing.
When they brought up their concerns, they were told the college couldn't take action since this happened in a shared parking lot with other businesses. In a phone call with a
What is Lyle's in a strip mall?
It could be.
In a phone call with a Lyle's College of Beauty employee, they told me they are working on adding surveillance cameras and that the break-ins are also happening to other businesses there. However, businesses in the same park.
It's not just at Lyle's. The massage parlor next door is getting robbed too.
Well, it sounds like everyone in that part of town is feeling it.
In the same parking lot say they have not dealt with recent car break-ins. Ali and Nikki tell me the Bakersfield Police Department told them to file a report online. I asked them what they hope to see from BPD and Lyle's College.
Caring more about our safety and just showing more effort at least.
Even in Bakersfield, they make you fill out the form.
Well, maybe if it was a different college, they'd do something else. Because isn't Vidal Sassoon an English company? If their security caught this going on, maybe the bad guy would be sent to the Tower of London.
I reached out to the Bakersfield Police Department to ask if a suspect has been identified, but I have not heard back. In studio, Michelle Roldan, Eyewitness News.
So there you go. Watch out for your valuables inside your car if you are attending Lyle's School of Beauty in Bakersfield.
What was it on Married with Children? Bob's Fish and Chips and Insurance. I think that's where Al bought his insurance.
That sounds about right.
What a name for a beauty school. Well, I guess they're not even safe in Bakersfield right now. What are you going to do?